Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation in preparing for our virtual career fair, which for the first time will be held on the Handshake University Career Platform. And so just a couple of housekeeping items, just to rename your screen with your full name, your degree concentration, and this way, when we go into breakout rooms, people will be able to know which community at CUNY SPH you're a part of. Other housekeeping items, because the fair is being held in Handshake, this is going to be a live demo of what's going on in Handshake. So please log into it now so that you can follow along, as well as these other handy links that we'll be referring to throughout today's presentation. And by way of introduction, if I haven't had the pleasure to meet you yet, I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Tina Lin. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the CUNY SPH career coach. And I facilitate these kinds of career skills workshops and group advising sessions, as well as meet with students one-on-one for career coaching appointments. So I see some familiar faces and names here, and I'm delighted to meet the new ones. And I'm joined by a good, like half our team is here. So I'm just going to give them a chance to say hello to everyone as well.
Hi,
Hi
everyone.
there.
Oops,
Oh,
sorry, Abby, go ahead.
I'm Abby, and I'm the Student Career Program Coordinator here for the Offices of Experiential Learning and Career Services. I manage a little bit of everything across the board, and you'll likely hear more from me on the career fair side of things.
Hi, and my name is Carolini. I'm the Special Projects Assistant for the CSA, which is our Career Skills Academy program. If you are not familiarized with that yet, I will drop a link for y'all in the chat.
Thanks, team. So glad that you're all here, and they're here to support and answer questions with me as well. And so just to go over what we plan on doing here in today's time is kind of like creating these checklists and tips for preparing for the fair, as well as a game plan and how to research and engage with employers so that you can maximize and optimize the event. And most importantly is just that practice time, practicing what you're going to say in yourself in introduction. Um, what we're not going to go over are kind of like those career fair handshake logistics, like kind of like signing in, you're completing your handshake profile or that career interest, or registering for the fair or uploading the resume. So if you have any questions about any of those things, that's why Abby is here. So feel free to direct message her in the chat. Abby also holds handshake office hours, and there are multiple sessions for that. So if you have any difficulties with any of those items, go ask Abby. And so, like, in case you missed it, Abby and Maya had hosted a Handshake How-Tos Career Fair edition just last month. And the recording is in the Handshake Resource Library. And they kind of went over a number of things in terms of, like, regards to that handshake profile and that the how-tos there. There are also handshake YouTube tutorials and guides around each of these, kind of like navigating the fair. And as mentioned, kind of like after watching all of those, if you still have questions, no worries. Just swing by these office hours, these handshake office hours to ask Abby. There's multiple sessions, and there's also another career fair Q&A session that Abby and I are hosting later this month, right before career fair. So whatever we cover today, if there's additional things, feel free to go ask our colleagues. And some of the questions that came in as students were registering for this, kind of like asking around some of those logistics and how to interact and sort of how to engage. And so we'll go through some of these questions and save time at the end and encourage you to also ask in the chat because this is an interactive event. So with that, and also just wanted to point out that we, in addition to whatever is not covered today, that you can set up career coaching appointments or contact us online and get more information on the websites, okay? So with that, let's move on to what's going on Handshake for the career fair. And so, Abby and I have been working hard in connecting with employers, and it's just a sampling of kind of like the 30+ employers that will be at the fair. And so let me pull up my Handshake page Give me one moment. And if you're there with me, go. Here we go. So on your handshake page, if you go to events, and you go to career fairs at our school, it'll bring you to our career fair webpage. And here, as you can see, so we're on the career fair webpage. You can kind of see we're in this middle tab on career fair details. And if you scroll down, you'll see employers that are attending. And you can click here to show all 33 employers and more as they're added between now and career fair. So just at a quick glance, you know, there are certain things in terms of kind of like seeing what kind of employers there are and also options to follow them. So if you're reading about certain employers and they sound interesting to you, follow them. Additionally, this page also has valuable information about what the employer, because employers as they register for the fair also need to fill out information. So for this, and this is the US work authorization is particularly important for those that are F1 international students, right? So for this particular APHL, if you're an F1 student, this is probably not an employer for you because they require US work authorization. Now, however, Boston Public Health Commission, they accept OPT and CPT. And other valuable information on here is kind of like the job types, the job titles, the types of employment that they have, and what sessions they're going to be. You can also filter this by any of these things, like around work authorization or around the employment type and other factors. And so kind of the key is as you have these details, kind of follow the employers, use those details to kind of view what's relevant for you and kind of use filters, whether it's by job types, geography, and that sort of a thing. And so this a way to research employers kind of like as we kind of go back to, I'm going to go back to the events page and that full listing. So I want to follow this one. That's how I click. If it's interesting, you can click follow and scroll through this list. And I will use as an example. Then if you click on the logo, it will now bring you to the employer page. And on the employer page here, you have the option to follow them. You also see the overview of this employer. And you'll also see there's a link to all their job postings. So for this one, there's like 6 of them. And so you can click here to view all. And there's options to kind of, these little tags is saving the job. So if there's a bunch of internships here, and if there's anything that's interesting, you can tag it, you can click it and read more about the job. And now you notice that it's saved. You can read it here, you know, at a glance, some information. more about this, the overview, and we're in the jobs section of Handshake now, right? And so this is just sort of like an idea, kind of like as you're doing this research, kind of like looking for these different opportunities by clicking the employer logo on and it will bring you to the employer profile page in Handshake, where you're going to be able to see an overview of this employer. You can follow it, and you can view all of the jobs that they have posted. And saving down these jobs, and clicking to learn more about each of these jobs. And it's not something that you have to apply to right away, but saving them down. And I think the most important things is kind of like as you save your jobs, they get moved over to this save job section, right? So if you go click on the logo, the Handshake logo, and go back to the kind of like landing page, you can view all of your saved jobs here. And that's just an easy way to kind of see what you've saved. It's also recommended if you build your own tracker, right? So this career fair prep tracker, where you just copy and paste the employer page, and then whatever that copy and paste the link of the job posting. And then we'll talk about how you register for different sessions, but marking down which session they're available, and then having space for your prep notes and the follow-up notes. And so we're going to go to the career fair events page to look at those sessions. So career fair events. And on the career fair event page, we were just looking at the career fair details with all the employers. Now we're going to look at the available sessions. And so here's a listing of, different organizations and what they're doing, whether they're having a group session that you can sign up for, or if they're doing one-on-one sessions and how many openings they have. So as you scroll through this, you can kind of register just by clicking on that and confirming. And so as you, and you can filter by what time they're available. So kind of like use this to build your schedule. And then that left one menu option is you can view your schedule. But best if you kind of like keep this for yourself and then also have a place for organizing your notes. And so on preparing your notes, kind of like thinking about the questions that you want to ask them and framing your ask around the information that you're looking for to gain more insights on the role and the organization based off of your research from reading the job posting and the about the employer. And the way that you frame that ask and showcasing your research and interest for this role and organization, right? And all of this can strengthen your job application because like ways that you can kind of incorporate what you learn is in your cover letter and just kind of like name drop the career fair. So kind of like these are ways that you can prepare and follow up, right? And on the group sessions, that also shows the speaker names. And so, listing out who the speakers are. So kind of like if we go to this session and if we scroll down, we'll see that the speakers, there's two speakers. So kind of like looking at their names, their Handshake profiles, maybe even looking them up on LinkedIn. And that way, once you get into their room, you can address them by name. And you can also look for ways to follow up and make it more personal. And for your personal introduction, kind of like thinking about what you want to share with employers, right? And based off of the company that you want to introduce yourself to, write down things that you want to include in your notes, right? Like, what are the things that you want to share about yourself, or the things that you hope to do, or what you're looking for, and in asking that question. And so kind of like a sample introduction that you can kind of utilize if it's like, and if it's a group one, you'll probably want to shorten it because there's a lot of people in the room. But if it's a one-on-one, then you kind of go into more depth, right? So, first you can start off by thanking them for being here today and sharing your name, pronouns, and what you're studying and what you're interested in knowing more about, and a question that you have. And, kind of like as they answer it, closing it out, it's like, thank you so much. Maybe asking them, it's like, what's the best way to follow up and continue the conversation, and look forward to being in touch. Another helpful tip is sort of like having, maybe, since this is a virtual event, there's the advantage of copy and pasting your intro and into the messaging, right? So, easily having that available, and just like a thank you, I'll be in touch kind of thing. And so on the follow-up portion, kind of like things that you want to capture are like what you've heard, things that you appreciated hearing, or maybe additional questions that you have. And these are all points that include in that post-email follow-up. And Caroline is going to help me just read out this like sample post-career follow-up email. Caroline?
Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna say hello and your the recruiter's name. The sample says, I enjoy speaking with you at the name, location of career fair on date. Add some personal detail. And then it was great learning about detail from the meeting. And I believe my, and then you add relevant personal experience, would be an asset in the job role title. I would appreciate connecting further and look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thanks again for your time. Best regards. And then you sign with your name, your major, and your LinkedIn link.
Yeah, and just like having that email signature set, and maybe like copy and pasting a template for yourself. That way you could just easily plug in to customize those things based off of your notes. And so, in our time together, kind of like, let's, as you're poking around on the career fair website, kind of think of like one company with that job that you're reading through, and use that to practice your self-introduction with the others in your breakout room, and in sharing what interests you, and like learn and listen from each other, and take notes even now. And as we've also shared in the past, like, just these opportunities for the breakout room is so important, not only for practice, but for building our CUNY SPH community in this virtual environment. So with that, anybody have any questions about the breakout room scenario and instructions? Is everybody ready to go into breakout rooms? Okay, and Caroline's gonna launch the breakout rooms, and we'll give everybody probably like 10-15 minutes. So we'll bring you all back at about their experience in practicing and other questions that came up. Anybody?
I can go. I thought it was like really helpful to be able to start like voicing out the things in your head about yourself that, like, and like filtering it out loud, like what people who are interested in hiring and I myself who am interested in being hired, like, want to know about me.
Mhm.
And like receiving feedback, like, like, how did that sound? Like what more can I add to it? Can I be more specific? Should I be less specific? Depending on who I'm talking to. And I really like that.
Yeah, thanks, John, for sharing. That's great. Kind of like that just getting this time to practice and prepare, and kind of like run through how to get yourself all ready to get and geared up to go. Anybody else? There were a lot of great conversations, so please share.
Hi, this is Claudia.
Hi, Claudia.
Hi. We were 3 people in our breakout room, and I think something that I get out of what we were discussing is that the more we read about the company, the easier it is to like tailor our description of our interests and experience towards what they might want, and also to ask a more relevant question, because I had not really prepared for any real company, so I was just like making very general comments. I was hearing my more specific.
Yeah, Claudia, thank you for sharing. It's kind of like how doing this research kind of like, and how do you map it from the employer to the job to yourself, to kind of customize what you want to share in that moment, to make the most of it. And kind of like, yeah, like hearing yourself, right? So, and sort of like practicing it here so that way it's smoother when you get there. Thank you. One last volunteer, please.
I can go.
Thank you, Jerry.
So I was with Sidra. I was talking to her about I've never attended a job fair, so using the prompt was helping me to kind of just say it out loud and use it as a template to talk about myself. And when I was, what was it? I'm interested. Oh, when I was using the prompt to answer or fill in, I have a question about an open role in. I realized, I was looking at Riseboro Community Partnership, and I was like, oh, well, I don't see any job openings, but I am reading that they have programs that span from housing, social services, and access to healthy food. And so I'm majoring in public health nutrition. And so I was wondering if there were any job openings related to access to healthy food. And I'm really interested in learning about research. So it was kind of like helping me frame how I wanted to communicate or inquire about their positions. So it was a little weird, but yeah, I think it's kind of a process that you have to go through.
Yeah, totally. Practice here. And kind of like, Jerry, I think like you make a really good point. Just in summary for like what you all have shared about being in these breakout rooms. And Caroline, are we recording this last piece for announcements and
Yes.
stuff? Great. It's just like what we did live examples using Handshake's career fair event page and looking at the employers, looking at the job postings. Some of the employers are still posting things, but it might not all be in Handshake yet, right? So, Jerry, to your point, like that employer might not have had job postings listed in Handshake yet, but you had their company website, which you can click on to check their careers page. You can also check the LinkedIn, and that is also something to add to your tracker, right? Like the employer, there's a Handshake profile. Where's their LinkedIn profile? Where's the company webpage? And doing that further research, even beyond what's in Handshake, right? And continually checking it, because Handshake is going to be continually updated. So maybe in these 3 weeks before the career fair, kind of like, take a first pass. It might take you an hour or so to do that first pass, right? But then make sure you do the second and the third pass to see if there's been any updates so that you can add to your tracking sheet. And I think this practice lab time in these breakout rooms that we've had today, based off of what your fellow students are sharing, is kind of like how important it is to do this research so that you map it to from the employer to the job description to your interests, to practicing and sharing your skill sets and asking questions to get that information, and having this template to just kind of like try it out so that it'll flow better once you get to that time. And so, as we wrap up our time together, like thinking, in these next 3 weeks, sort of like preparing for that career fair success, kind of like if you have any questions about Handshake, please attend Handshake office hours. Ask Abby about if you have any questions about how to complete that Handshake profile, how to upload your resume, your visibility, and like we've discussed, like researching these employers and registering for the career fair, signing up for sessions and building out your schedule, and most importantly, practicing that engagement with employers. And during the fair, kind of like, setting up that your notes page, right? To record the things that you're hearing, be that active listener, and like speak up when you're in those sessions, especially those group sessions, you know. And we've also discussed how to tailor like when you're in a group session and when you're in a one-on-one, kind of how those conversations go, right? And that way you can kind of be strategic about that packed room group session versus like that quality one-on-one time. And always like beginning and closing with thanks. If there are any questions the day of, I will have my own room. I will be in a student lounge to answer questions. So if you just want to run through and practice with me, I'll be available before you go into like a one-on-one session or a group session or something like that. We can do that together. So don't hesitate to swing by my room, or if you just want to just say hello and just have a place to rest, you can lounge around with me in my Zoom room. Other things is kind of like the logistics of like, what are you going to wear that day? And what kind of background you're going to use. I'm going to drop in the chat in case people don't have it. Is this virtual backgrounds? I've also included that in the tip sheet. So kind of like you got to look good in terms of the virtual background and what you're wearing from the waist up. Test that camera angle and the lighting and your AV, your audio. So look good and sound good, being prepared with what you're going to say and ask and engage, right? And so also after the fair, so important that you follow up with an email, right? Like when you're in the fair, kind of getting an idea of ways to follow up. What are their instructions? Their preferred method of contact, right? And other things that you can leverage this career fair experience is when you submit your cover letter, and I'm like, hello, dear hiring manager, I'm applying for such and such role at such and such company, which I learned about at my my school's virtual career fair, right? Like on such and such date, like reference it, right? And follow those employers on Handshake, on LinkedIn, get their career web pages. That way, you know, you can kind of continue to build your dashboard of like checking these companies of interest, these target companies regularly, as well as receive notifications when they have new opportunities on Handshake or LinkedIn. And so kind of like just as a review, sort of like all the things that you can do before and during and after. We've included this checklist in the materials, and want to also like share that there's upcoming events besides career fair and leading up to this. And you know, we want to open this time for any questions that anybody has. I know that we're right at the hour, so if people need to leave, one of our traditions is kind of like having a one-word checkouts. And how are you feeling after spending this time together today? So feel free to drop that in the chat. We'd also appreciate your feedback. And let me just drop in the chat our feedback link. And we'd really appreciate if you can kind of share what was helpful today or what other things that you would like to see so that we can customize this time to better suit your needs. And kind of like want to leave this time just open for any questions that come back. Yeah, John, and I think like a blurred background is fine. You know, like I think that kind of shows where you're at, and that's sort of like you just want to hide sort of like any like distractions, right? But I mean, there's so many options these days
Yeah.
too, like in terms of personalizing your background. It's another way that you can visibly kind of be memorable.
Yeah, I think I sort of prefer the blurred because like sometimes like you kind of like meld into your background, like you know, like and it's like you glitch around and like so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
having like being blurred, I feel like I get to be more my like me and not like, you know,
Yeah.
phased into certain things, and like my hand gestures and things even get, you know, that's why I like the blurred a little bit more.
Yeah, totally. And I think like the main things is visibly like renaming your screen, including sort of like HPAM, maybe you might want to put health policy, right? Like that portion of it. Or if it's like if you're a nutrition, like keeping that because like the employers will see what your screen name is as well. That's a great one. Any other questions? Let me see if I can go back to that question. There were so many good questions earlier before.
I have another one. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just really caffeinated right now. Um, so there, I was like looking at it earlier and like trying to like schedule like my like the one-on-ones and like the just program around things. And then there was an organization that I wanted to book like a one-on-one with, and then like the last appointment like kind of disappeared. And then I was like, oh, I guess I don't really get to do that anymore with them. Is it like um will like more spots open up, or like is it like changing? Will people like come out of those things? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say like maybe, and Abby, maybe you have a better answer to this, but I would say like if there was an interest in a company and a slot, maybe sending an email to the career services email and just say, hey, this particular company with the one-on-ones, I was interested in this company with the one-on-ones, but they don't have any more slots. Will they be opening more? And like that way you can kind of signal your interest. I think another thing is like make sure you follow that company because that's also another way that you can signal interest.
Okay.
And you can also direct message like the people in Handshake to also ask that. So you can kind of do it in two places. Let career services know that you're interested and see if they'll open more slots, and directly to the representatives and just say, hey, I'm interested, but I noticed like you guys are packed, you're popular, or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, those are great tips. Thank you.
Yeah. And hopefully, like today's presentation has kind of mentioned how this online career fair on Handshake will work, and give you an idea on how to interact with employers. And in terms of that skills idea and applying and connecting, like and giving that good impression, and what questions to ask. Hopefully, we've touched on a little bit of that today in our quick time together. But certainly, like if we can discuss these more one-on-one in career coaching appointments, along with kind of like, landing that entry-level job when you have limited experience, right? Like, how do you talk about your academic coursework and the knowledge that you've built there to and transfer that knowledge practically into what the employer is looking for, and how to handle those the rejections. And I will say, like, the underrated advice about career fairs and prep, kind of like thinking about what are your expectations, managing your expectations, and understanding the expectations of what employers are looking for, and kind of like rising up to that occasion and matching that, right? So like I think it starts with like looking inside yourself and asking those questions. Why am I going? What do I want to get out of it? And putting in the sweat equity to prepare for it. So that way you can kind of meet your own expectations, but while understanding what the employers are looking for and matching that. So a lot of it is preparation, reflection, and practice, which is the typical advice. But I'm going to start with the expectations and looking inside yourself. Any final questions that people might have for this time together? And thank you as you're heading out, like, kind of continuing our tradition of the one word checkout. I'm so glad that you're motivated to maximize and optimize this new format for engaging with employers on Handshake at the Virtual Career Fair. So thank you all for your time today. And again, if there's any other questions, we've got plenty of events that are coming up to help support you through this. So take care, everybody. 3 more weeks till Career Fair. See you all soon.